Whether they're playing in Toronto or Tampa, the Raptors are always a tough opponent for the 76ers, as Sunday night's game showed once again. The Raptors went a little bit small despite Ben Simmons having a very, very big night once again in his return. Tonight, Tobias Harris and company go up against the Raps in round 2 of this 2-game road series, another key matchup in the Eastern Conference from Tampa. How you doing? And welcome into 7-6 Live Countdown presented by Tissot. I'm Brian Seltzer. Lauren Rosen, hello to you. The 76ers and the Raptors getting ready to do it again. I like it. I like these 2-game series, especially in a rivalry situation.
I am a big fan myself, Selt. I hope that maybe this is something that could continue on into future seasons, even when things go a little bit more back to normal. It has been really cool to have sort of feel like mini playoff series a few times throughout the year, especially like you said, against some key opponents that you never know you could see down the road in the playoffs themselves.
It was really insightful hearing both Nick Nurse, the head coach of the Raptors, and Doc Rivers talk about the 2-game series dynamic before tonight's game. Toronto's had a lot of success in front ends, and Nick Nurse was like, he always feels the second time around is harder. He expects Doc Rivers and his staff to be ready with adjustments. And then Doc Rivers mentioned that he's intrigued to see how the Sixers come out in a second game situation where they lost the front end and what type of intensity they bring.
Yeah, this Sixers team has been really good in these back-to-backs, winning both traditionally at this point. So what happens when they lose the first and have to come back into the second with fire? They've shown they can bring a fire into a second game even after winning the first. So you'd hope that that same energy will be available tonight.
76ers, as you see on the bottom of your screen, dropping Sunday's game 110 to 103. Very competitive, high-spirited, played inside of 10 points for the majority of the game. Ben Simmons was great for the 76ers, scoring 28 points. Joel Embiid had to labor a bit. He finished with 25 for the Sixers, the bulk of that production coming from the free throw line. All in all, the Sixers had to work for what they got throughout the game. And now the season series, and keep in mind it's only a 3-game season.
That non that
Real to win a basketball game
had this the same from Ben, Joel, and Tobias. They liked the looks they were getting, but the shots just weren't falling. And sometimes you have those nights. So as long as it doesn't happen again in a second consecutive game against the same team, I'm willing to believe that that's really what happened here. They did have a lot of good looks. They were able to get the looks that they've been successful with throughout this season, but they didn't fall, as we saw, like you said, in that fourth quarter where the Raptors ended up taking that 27-19 decisive advantage.
76ers getting ready for round 2 against the Raptors. Here's what Doc Rivers had to say at the end of the first matchup between the Sixers and the Raptors, a game played in Tampa on Sunday.
Probably a little bit of both. You know, whenever you play them, they trap a lot, and they did that. I thought Joel overall handled the traps perfect. I mean, we ended up getting great shots. We just couldn't make any tonight. You know, and then I thought in the third and fourth quarter, you know, as he said, walking off, man, I had 100 good looks tonight. The ball just wouldn't go in. And there's nights like that. I thought a lot of our guys had great looks tonight. The problem is they wasn't going in And I thought the misses started mounting up as far as how we were handling it. So we got to do a better job of handling misses because that's going to happen in the game.
True statement, of course, by Doc Rivers. And listen, Lauren, the Sixers in the game on Sunday shot under 39% overall and under 30% from three. And personally, I think even watching that first quarter with Tobias stepping into shots confidently the way he normally does, but unlike what he normally does, the ball wasn't going in. You could tell that this night was going to feel perhaps like an aberration. And I think three of the best shooters on this team are obviously Seth Curry, Joel Embiid, and Tobias Harris as far as volume and consistency. And they combined, I think it was 16 for 49 in the game. You just don't expect to see that much. So I do think that there's probably some reasonability and validity the Sixers falling back on the we had some good looks, shots didn't fall stance.
Yeah, sometimes it's just not your night. And we're accustomed to seeing that maybe for one or two of the guys, but it was a difficult night for more players than you're used to having struggle. And unfortunately, sometimes that's just how it is. The Raptors got hot and they were able to take advantage where the Sixers were struggling.
I thought a big key, Lauren, as we take a look back at that game, the 76ers, as we said, shot what they shot. Toronto shot 49.5% from the field and then 41% from three. They hit three more three-pointers than the 76ers. A big X factor in the game was Chris Boucher. The 76ers, personnel-wise, just could not find an answer for him in some in-between lineups that Toronto went with throughout the second half.
Well, yeah, he's an interesting player. So tall and long, but is able to shoot. Really cool to see the way that he's succeeded. Shout out to the G League, of course. Always good to see players that come the non-traditional route and end up getting caught, getting good, finding meaningful spots on good teams like he has. But yeah, imagine that Chris Boucher might have shown up a little bit more in the scouting report for game two.
So as we said, Joel Embiid, I mean, on the surface, you have a quote-unquote off night when you go for 25 and 17. I think you're living right if that's the case. But Joe from the field, just 6 for 20, 1 for 3 from three-point territory. He spoke about some of the things that Toronto did to him after the game on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I cross half court, they're just saying 2-3 guys on me to make sure that I wasn't going to be the one that beat them tonight. But overall, I thought I stayed within myself and within the team concept, and I made a lot of passes out of it. We just didn't make enough shots tonight.
Joel Embiid speaking after the game on Sunday night, and I got to believe, Lauren, the big fella, I'd say collectively the entire team, but I'm really intrigued to see how the big fella comes out tonight.
He's not going to want to have two nights in a row the way that he struggled on Sunday. And again, like you said, a struggling night for Joel Embiid, still 25 and 17, which is just insane. And it's exactly why he's in the MVP conversation, if not at the forefront of the MVP conversation. Getting it done on both ends, something we've become accustomed to seeing Joel do, and no better example than that one there. He was very good. It just wasn't quite enough as it has been in the past for Joel to really lift this team over the edge because of how well the Raptors came on there at the end.
Yeah, we can see some of those doubles, very aggressive by the Raptors. They certainly have had a lot of opportunities to scheme against Joel Embiid, and we know how excellent they are in terms of their defensive execution, and they really buckled down on Joe and tried to make it as difficult as possible as they could on him. Joel Embiid is an all-star starter for the 76ers. We hope to learn that two more 76ers get picked at reserves later on tonight. We're going to find out probably in about 40 minutes or so. Of course, Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris are bidding for 7 of the reserve spots that are available. Ben Simmons, Lauren, in the last couple weeks has been playing at an ultra-high level, and that was certainly the case again on Sunday when he came out aggressive, and he was a guy the Raptors really didn't have an answer for throughout most of the night.
Yeah, Ben's just been playing out of his mind, and he's shown that he can really do it all. We say it all the time, but this season, you really see what it means when you talk about Ben as a versatile weapon. He's doing the most on the defensive end. He says he's the best defensive player in the league, and I'm willing to buy it. I think one of his teammates might have something to say about that, but certainly the two of them, two of the best defensive players in this league. And then you look at the offensive side. 28 points in this one. His last outing, we remember he had 42. Another example, he can do it all, grabbing the steal, finishing it on the other end. This has been a big year for Ben, showing how much he can do. When he's not out there on the floor, his teammates miss his presence, the way that he creates shots, creates good looks for other people. There's nothing this man can't do. And I think we talk about that a lot. We're so prone to focus on the things that he struggles with, and you forget that he's so brilliant in so many different ways. And it's been cool to see him shine over these last few games.
I mean, look at that 79.5% from the free throw line. That is what you want to see. He was 10 for 14 from the stripe against the Raptors on Sunday, going 9 for 11 from the field, and he's 31 for 39 during this 4-game stretch. I mean, that's those numbers right there. Who puts up the diverse array of numbers that Ben does, the likes of which you're seeing on the bottom of your screen? That doesn't even take into account the steals he generates per games, the fact that he leads the league essentially in deflections, and the havoc he wreaks on defense. And to me, Lauren, it was really interesting to hear Toronto head coach Nick Nurse say before the game tonight, he feels like Ben's spirit, he can just tell, is in a really good place. He described Ben as like one of those downhill running backs in football where if they get a little bit of a crease, they're off and going for daylight. I thought that was a cool description. And yeah, I think that Ben has really had to, at least at the beginning of this season, adjust as much as anyone on the 76ers roster. And through it all, I think he's been professional about it, mature, and the vibes, checking in on the vibes, have been good from Ben.
The vibes have been good indeed. I also wanted to reference something we heard in pregame media, but from Doc Rivers. Doc, obviously one of the guys that gets to vote. Same with Nick Nurse on who gets those final 7 spots in the East. Like you said, Ben and Tobias are both fighting for. And Doc said something that really stuck with me. He said it's much harder to get good numbers on good teams. And Tobias and Ben both all season long have been getting really impressive numbers, sharing the floor with not only one another, but with a potential MVP, and still putting up all-star caliber numbers. So regardless of who actually shows up on that roster in 30 minutes, those two certainly have a lot to be proud of, and Sixers fans should be proud of them as well.
Amen to that. Well put. Ben Simmons reflected on the rhythm that he's been in as of late on Sunday night.
I don't think they did anything crazy. I mean, he usually gets doubled. Probably a little bit more, maybe a little bit more physical. But I think, he played well overall. I think he moved the ball well. He rebounded well. The more he's able to facilitate like that, he's going to be incredible. He's such a great player already. Once he finds that, he's unstoppable.
And I think the numbers, Lauren, show that Ben, when he plays alongside Joel Embiid, who Ben was just talking about there, really effective this season. The point differential is very much in favor of that pairing. And I think it speaks to a couple things, the fit of the roster this year for sure, but also just more reps that Ben and Joe have gotten together. We've seen them in certain schematic techniques that Doc has used where they're playing off each other well. And listen, we know that for the 76ers to be as good as they want to be, a lot of it's going to have to do with how well, I'll say 3 players in particular play. But certainly I think everyone would agree that it starts with Ben and Joel.
I am with you there, Selton. I love to dig deep into what the players have to say about one another. And I think something that's really stuck out this season is the way that you heard Ben do it just now, but the way that Ben and Joel have each spoken about each other. There's a real respect and admiration there between the two of them. And I think as they both grow, separately and together, they're starting to understand just how valuable they can be to one another, and the way that they've relied on each other on the court, and then the way that they've celebrated one another off the court, I think has just been really awesome to see, and it warms my heart.
Anytime we can get some heartwarming amidst more and more snow, I think that is a great thing.
We need it. We need all the good vibes we can get these days.
We're going to hear from Shake Milton in a moment, but want to tell you about a great special we have coming up It's called the Paving the Way Roundtable. Really excited to see that the team is putting this together. It's going to be held on Friday. You can go to Sixers.com/live. Follow us on our social media channels for a way to follow along for the Race and Basketball Then and Now Roundtable on Friday. And then coming up tomorrow, Philadelphia Black Basketball Pioneers, hosted by the great Devon Givens, our podcasting partner extraordinaire on the Friday Deep Dive from 97.5 The Fanatic. Danny Green, Sonny Hill are going to be part of that Pioneers Roundtable tomorrow. And I do believe, I'm not going to speak out of turn, I think there are some special guests, some real heavy hitters in store for that Friday Roundtable as well. So great to see that content coming out. Again, Sixers.com/live, or just follow all the alerts you need on our social media channels for more information. But yes, Lauren, going back to what we saw on the floor, Shake Milton was out there. Even though it was a loss for the 76ers, a big picture gain was that Shake Milton was back on Sunday.
Yes, indeed. Good to see Shake back after he was away for those 5 games with an ankle sprain. And if we know anything about Shake, we know he wanted more than 9 points in that first game against Toronto, but it was great to see him get his legs under him, start to see some shots go in, and Shake and I were able to catch up this morning.
Hey, Shake, great to see you back. I'm sure it was difficult to spend time away from the team, away from the court. So what was it like to be out? And then how good did it feel to finally get back on Sunday night?
It's tough to be out with the injury, especially. You just got to deal with a lot of rehab, and then, trying to be the best teammate possible on the sideline. It felt good to be back and get up and down and, kind of get your wind back, get your legs underneath you. So it was fun.
With 5 games left now until the All-Star break, what do you feel are some of the team's biggest focuses or adjustments you're hoping to make before you guys head into that break?
Finishing strong and just, paying attention to the little details, continuing to build on, our habits, our good habits, and, break down old ones and just kind of head in the right direction going into break.
Do you still feel like you can be a leader for that second unit, and how excited are you to continue gelling with that group specifically?
100%. I'm excited. We got great guys, guys who want to listen, guys who want to learn and just play hard. And I think that second unit, we can come in and bring a lot of energy and hopefully change the game. So for us, it's just, staying together and playing hard and being locked in.
Thank you, Shake.
Mm-hmm.
The second unit's been getting a little bit of heat lately, Celts, especially among the chatter spheres. And I think Shake returning to that unit, someone that's claimed he wants to be a leader for them. He wants to lead with a Dwight Howard. He wants to inspire the other guys in the unit and get shots for them as well. I think is going to be huge for their productivity. I don't know that necessarily the second unit heat has been as necessary as it's become. It's a group that showed a lot of flashes of brilliance at the beginning of the season. And now with Shake, it's leader in scoring, and maybe it's sort of leader in spirit is back with the group. I'm excited to see what that unit can do headed into the break.
I haven't thought about that. I'm glad you brought it up, Lauren, because I would agree. I think that, listen, Shake Milton was out for 5 games, and the time during which that the bench started to gain a lot of this focus and attention also happened to be during those 5 games. I think that a lot of people in the Sixers realize that, yes, there's certain things that do need to come together on the bench, but I also believe I'd be willing to say at least that in a perfect world, if Shake Milton gets his legs back under him and more into a groove over the next game or two, again, you miss a week and a half, 2 weeks, that's a substantial chunk of time. Let's see where things are at when Shake is back in full form. Maybe Furkan, if he gets the opportunity, finds his stroke and he's able to give the Sixers a bit more of a punch. Same goes for Mike Scott. I think we've seen in chunks and stretches in previous seasons how value some of these individual players can be. And like you said, Lauren, there was a time when earlier this season, the bench was in a great place. So I'm eager to see, hopefully, as the games progress towards the end of this first half of the season, the bench can finish on a high note.
And worth noting that while Shake was away, Ben Simmons was also away for a few games in which Matisse Thybulle stepped into the starting lineup. So while Matisse isn't necessarily one of the biggest offensive weapons in that secondary unit, he is a weapon, and he's someone that opposing second units have to really prepare for, but he was running with the first unit. So there hasn't been a lot of continuity for that bench group. I think to be too hard on them right now would be a little bit unnecessary, especially understanding that as the season gets longer and we head into the playoffs, that those second unit only minutes are going to get thinner and thinner. So give the second unit some grace, give them a little patience. I still believe for sure in these reserves.
And I think something too that's going into it that Doc Rivers has alluded to is I feel like he's kind of using this stage of the season as somewhat of a fact-finding mission about guys on the bench. Like right now, he wants to see what Isaiah Joe might be able to give. That opportunity wasn't there for Isaiah before. So I think that based on comments that Doc has made and some of these media availabilities so far, to me it sounds like he's, when the opportunity presents itself and seems appropriate, curious to find out what some of these guys might be able to give him on the bench, and he's still doing some fact-finding at this stage of the year. But one thing we do not have to do much fact-finding about, Lauren, is these Toronto Raptors. They are perennially a tough, edgy, dogged team. Doesn't matter where they play. They showed that again on Sunday, a team that obviously in the regular season has had the 76ers number a bit in road games. I really don't make too much of that stat. Rosters change season in, season out, month to month at times in an NBA season. But hey, Toronto's got to be feeling really good about itself. It's above 500 for the first time this season at 16-15.
Yes, indeed. They're riding quite the winning streak currently. And you could expect maybe that a team that had to relocate for a full season would have a little bit of a harder time finding its footing, getting in its stride. And certainly this Raptors team has found that stride. And that, keep in mind, has been without Kyle Lowry, and they'll be without Kyle Lowry again tonight, we just learned. So they will be shorthanded once again, and they've still found a way to make it work, whether shorthanded or not. It's a team that deserves some respect in this Eastern Conference, even if they weren't quite getting it at the beginning of the season.
Absolutely, no question about it. And Lowry, it was interesting. He was questionable earlier today, and then he was downgraded. And again, he won't be playing tonight, but just that stretch that Fred VanVleet had at the end of the first quarter going into the second on Sunday, that shows you why his name is being mentioned among the likes of Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris as a possible all-star reserve candidate.
And good for him too. That's clearly a guy that works his tail off. You see him working out on the court night in and night out. And you love, again, a guy that maybe came from the beginning of his career, not getting a ton of minutes, not expected to be an all-star type, but making it happen for himself now. So all the respect in the world to a guy like a Fred VanVleet, like a Chris Boucher, but hopefully maybe not enough respect for them to fire tonight the way that they did a couple nights back.
All right, I'm going to look down at my Tissot Chrono XL NBA Special Edition. It is time. Let us run the graphic for the Tissot keys to the game. Lauren, the floor is yours.
I will go first. We just discussed how this Raptors team has over and over again made the Sixers work for it. So my key was pretty simple. You got to outwork them tonight. And the Sixers should be looking to do just that. They don't want to lose again. This is a familiar foe. This is a team that they don't have a problem getting up for. We saw the fight in game one. We just didn't see those shots fall. Keep that fight up, work hard, outwork this team, and I think they'll get good things going.
Love it, and I do not disagree. All right, my key is beware the hot hand, and the lesson was instructive in Sunday's game. Chris Boucher came in, and in my opinion, that was essentially why Toronto won the game. They capitalized and transitioned a bit better later, but Boucher was huge, perfect in the second half from three and overall from the field. I think that tonight the Sixers might have some better lineups there to deal with that. It just seemed like Boucher got lost at various points in the game on Sunday, and the Sixers, I certainly believe, will come back with an edge tonight, ready to split this two-game series. But this is the tiebreaker. However that'll play out, who knows, in this unprecedentedly structured season. But yeah, this is for the series win tonight, this game, third and final meeting.
Yes, indeed. Looking forward to it. Celts should be a good one if the first two were any indication.
Agreed. All right, we thank, as we always do, Ryan Coletti, Trevor Gaffney on the sticks. Lauren, thank you. We will be back and talking to you on Thursday, nationally televised game. A man named Luka and Josh Richardson in South Philadelphia, the Dallas Mavericks coming to town. Bobby, please, disgraceful that I nearly got out of here without mentioning that.
Anytime Bobby's back in town, it's worth a big smile. You can see it on my face right now. one of my favorite players in this league, and Josh Richardson as well. It'll be cool to see some familiar faces Thursday, and we'll look forward to previewing that one for you right here on 7-6 Live Countdown, presented by Tissot.
All right, everyone, have a great night. See ya.